Joni and I don't know what it is like to raise a special needs child or to lose a child, but psychologists say that the toughest thing that a family or a person can ever go through is losing a small child. It's just not natural for a child to precede you in death. So, you know, you can try to imagine what it would be like, but we really can't know unless you've been through it. Well, here today to tell their story from New York, Jim and Jill Kelly. God bless you guys. We're so glad that you're here. Okay. So, Jill, when you found out you were going to have a little boy, being married to this big, strong, macho football player guy, I know that had to be thrilling for him when he first heard that news.
Oh, it was probably the best news other than, you know, your career for him. And of course, we had been blessed with a daughter already who was 2. I knew, though, that Hunter was going to be a boy, and Jim did not. So I kept the secret.
Oh, my goodness. So why were you withholding that vital information?
I wanted it to be a surprise because I knew that he had longed for a boy and all the plans that he had for him. So I just wanted to see the expression on Jim's face when Hunter actually came forth into the world. So I kept a secret, and I am so proud of myself for doing it. I still can't believe I did it.
Me either.
So wait a second. So, Jim, you didn't know until Hunter was born that he was going to be a boy?
Oh, no, I had no clue. She told her brother. And as she said, she wanted me to be surprised, and boy, was I, because we did and were blessed with a beautiful daughter named Erin first. And it's kind of interesting because after I retired from football playing in the NFL for the Bills, 2 weeks later, which was Valentine's Day, which is my birthday, our son was born.
Wow.
I mean, imagine, envision a boy born on your birthday, especially Valentine's Day. And of course, I was overwhelmed. And one of the first things I did was, and we have this on tape, and it's a reminder to us too, but I thank God for a healthy child. And from that point on is pretty much where our lives started going in separate directions.
And let me just say this, even though the focus is on Hunter today, there is something so special about daughters and a dad.
Yeah, that's right.
I know that I could start crying right now. I was thinking about my girls, and of course I love my son, and they're all so special. So, Jill, everything had been great with Erin. She had been a healthy child, and now a healthy little girl, and now you have this little boy. And when did you first find out something was wrong? Did you have any problems or anything during your pregnancy? Was it just like Erin's pregnancy?
No, in fact, it was of the 3 children, my pregnancy with Hunter was the easiest and least uncomfortable in every way. So when we brought Hunter home, when we left the hospital, he had passed all the newborn screening tests with flying colors, so we thought he's healthy, he's fine. As soon as we brought him home, though, he started to get a little crabby, so they initially said, well, he probably has colic. So we changed, I was nursing, so we went to formula and changed went to every single formula you can possibly use, and none of that was helping. And he continued to get more irritable, and eventually it did take an hour just to feed him an ounce of formula. So something was going on with his swallowing. So we went in for a well visit when he was 3 months old, and they said he was showing signs of cerebral palsy. Well, we were shocked because it was a well visit. We had we didn't think we would leave there with a diagnosis like that. And we were devastated, but immediately they started intervention. So, we were hopeful. But Hunter continued to digress, and eventually we went to a neurologist at the Children's Hospital where we live, and she said, well, we're going to test for leukodystrophies. Now, mind you, we come from healthy families. What is a leukodystrophy? We had no clue. And then eventually we sat in her office the day that she gave us the diagnosis. He was 4 months old, and she said that Hunter has Krabbe disease. He will not live to see his 2nd birthday. There is no cure, and there is no treatment for this disease.
Okay, so Jill, Krabbe leukodystrophy, what is that? How does that affect a person's body?
Well, it's a form of, it affects the white matter in your brain. We have 2 different matters in our brain, and to try to tell this in layman's terms so we all understand it, because we didn't understand it.
So we have white and gray,
yes,
is that right?
White and gray, and it affects the white matter in your brain, and, what we take for granted, our eyesight, hearing, swallowing, all the movement of our limbs, these children, because their brain is lacking an enzyme, all of that deteriorates, and that is why they don't live very long. But by the grace of God, clearly, Hunter lived to be 8.5, which he was at that time the oldest child that had lived to be that long. So, in the midst of all of his suffering, obviously, we share our story in that God completely wrecked our family. But in the midst of that devastation, he brought so much beauty and joy through the suffering.
So tell us a little bit about when you got the diagnosis and you come home and you're dealing with it. At some point, you, I guess, first initially turned to the Lord, I guess, and went and ran to God. Tell us a little bit about
later,
what happened there.
It was a year and a half after Hunter was born. For that first year and a half, though, we treated Hunter like he was dying. Exactly. Because that's what we were told. We didn't know. And so I was consumed with his care and afraid that, it could be today. And we both felt that way. But then Jesus intervened. Praise God. And when Jesus intervened, we all started living. And we realized that we were even dead apart from Christ. But I ran to Christ for very selfish reasons. I wanted heaven. I thought my son was going to heaven. I wanted heaven. So I ran after him, not knowing that I needed him in a sense, because of my sin and all of that. But I ran to him. And
we all need him.
Exactly.
No matter what's going on.
Yes. And I didn't know that. I just was wanting heaven. But I found Jesus, praise God, the author of heaven. So I ran after him with all that was in me, and I was desperate for hope. We were not given any hope. And I was crushed in every way a person can be crushed. And my uncle ministered to us through the book of Job, which is crazy. The book of Job. Who wants to read the book of Job when you're already in pain? But it just so happens that God revealed his sovereignty to me through that book. And then everything changed. Our household was no longer Monday Night Football. It was Monday Night Bible Study. So.
All right, so Jim, let me ask from your perspective. Here you are. You've been so successful. You have been a leader. Obviously, you were blessed financially. You were used to winning. And also, you're a husband, and you love your wife, and you love your kids, and it's always that part of a husband that we want to fix things, we want to make it right, we want to solve the problem. So how are you feeling when you were in this situation with this diagnosis?
Well, I was devastated at the beginning. I didn't want to believe it. I got tired of people telling me that my son was here for a reason, that I was a chosen father, that my son was a chosen little boy because we can't make a difference. I was mad at God. Could not believe that I would have a son born on Daddy's birthday.
Wow.
And I already had the game plan already written out. My younger brother had a son born 11 days before Hunter, so I automatically put number 12 on my son, number 83 on my nephew, and I thought about the football games, the basketball games, the hunting, all the outdoor stuff we were going to do together. And then to have that crushed in 4 months, thinking that our son would never see his second birthday. And for me, I was mad. And I did not handle it very well. We handled it totally different, where Jill ran to God, I ran away from God. As she was saying that when she would have her Monday Bible study, I'd be watching Monday Night Football. Wherever she was at with her mother, with other people that were reading the Bible, I was somewhere else. I didn't want to have anything to do with it because I was in a part of my life where I was blaming everybody else and not really doing and acting the way I should have. And it took me a long time to realize that.